I originally wanted to make a video on the Smiling Man, which started off with real stories of people claiming to see him. This is a tall man that follows people at night and dances in a really creepy way whenever you stare at him. There have been so many police reports on him that he's even inspired a number of short films, and many creepypastas have been written about him.
What the hell do you want?
He's mostly been reported to the police within a number of the US states, dating all the way back to 16th October 1966, when two young lads spotted him in New Jersey, Elizabeth Street. They told the police that he was behind a fence and had a frantic smile on his face whilst wearing a green metallic suit. He would follow them as they ran away, and they even saw him doing the creepy waltz-type dance which is shown in a number of the short films made about him. Since October 16th, 1966, there have been many stories told about the sightings of the Smiling Man, and police reports given about this exact figure being spotted at night time. But this is where the wormhole into one of the most interesting stories I have ever researched begins. Out of all the reports given about him, I believe that there were 6. There was one that's played on my mind non-stop since the first time I heard it, and I knew that this story alone would be the centre of the video. This is the incident with Indrid Cold. About 2 weeks after the first sighting of the strange and eerie looking Smiling Man, there was another call to the police, but this time from somebody different. This was a man named Woodrow Derenberger. Driving from Ohio, on Interstate 77, in Parkersburg, West Virginia, Woodrow Derenberger was driving his truck and slammed on his brakes as he saw an unidentifiable vehicle that had stopped in front of him. The vehicle was incredibly bright, and he had to squint quite a lot just to view it, but he described it as being long and sideways, with a door in the middle. The door opened up, and there was a man in a dark blue glossy suit that approached his car, with a frantic smile on his face. He said nothing but just stared at him. His smile never faded, but he was able to speak to Derenberger without moving his mouth. Now it's important to note that this isn't a ghost story told around campfires late at night, but the story of a man who has publicly spoken out about this occurrence, and the wild occurrences that followed his life after speaking out about it. His report was recorded by a reporter that worked at WTAP TV named Glenn Wilson, who only released the recordings on the internet just after 30 years of the interview had been shown on TV. It was originally recorded and stored on a reel-to-reel tape, but that was able to be transferred to audio. This is what Derenberger said about the terrifying encounter.
As soon as I had stopped, there was a door opened in the side of this vehicle, and this man stepped out and came directly to me, or came to the truck. He walked to the right-hand side of the truck, and he told me to roll down the window. He asked me to roll down the window on my right-hand side of my truck. And I had done what he asked. And this man stood there, and he first asked me what I was called. And I knew he meant my name, and I told him my name. And he asked me, he said, why are you frightened? He said, don't be frightened, we wish you no harm. He said, we mean you no harm, we wish you only happiness. And I told him my name, and when I told him my name, he said he was called Cold. That was the name that he was called by. And he asked me what the city of Parkersburg, he pointed to the lights, he didn't point, but he gave the impression that he was pointing, and he asked me what that was called. And I told him it was Parkersburg, it was a city, a town, and he asked me if most all the people lived in this city or town. And I explained to him that it was a place of business, it's where we transacted our business, that the people lived in communities, outlying communities, most of the people. And when I told him that this was a city, he said that where his home was, that was called a gathering. And again, he told me not to be frightened, which I was. I was very frightened. And as far as I can understand, this was all mental. There was no spoken words from him. I knew what he was asking me, but yet he stood there and his mouth did not move. He had a smile on his face. He appeared very courteous and friendly. And after I talked with him a while, he told me he would see me. He said, "We will see you again," and he left in his vehicle.
Now, Mr. Derenberger, for the sake of our television audience here, the words that you used, cold would be like Cold is his name. This is how it sounded to you, that his name was Cold.
Yes.
And the word gathering was like we would know together or something like this.
Yes, that's what he meant.
He then asked about his mental state and whether or not he drinks alcohol.
You drink?
No, I do not drink.
You don't drink intoxicating beverages?
No, I do not drink any intoxicating beverages at all. I don't believe in drinking, and I just don't. Mm-hmm. But what I saw last night, I know that I saw it. It was no figment of imagination. It was there, and I was there. And
now, you said that he also made the statement that we will see you again.
When he was getting ready to leave, he stepped back from the truck about one step, and he said, "Mr. Derenberger, we will see you again." He didn't say I, he said we will see you again. And when he got in the truck, or when he got in the vehicle, the door opened as he walked up to the vehicle, and he stepped up into it, and there was another man, or I couldn't describe this man because I could just see his outline, but I did see his arm and hand reach outside and take a hold of the door and pull the door closed. And when the door closed, it made an audible noise like you'd shut a door on a big heavy automobile.
After the interview aired, several people came forward to report seeing a person who matched Derenberger's description of Indrid Cold. One man claimed that a man who resembled Indrid Cold attempted to flag him down, but he was too terrified to do so. Others inserted that they have observed lights and fluttering automobiles on the highway Derenberger claimed to have spoken that Cold approached him on. Also, a number of witnesses claimed to have observed Derenberger standing by the side of the road and conversing with a man there. Newspapers in the region aired articles regarding Derenberger's and other people's statements for the following 3 weeks. The media attention ultimately subsided, but Cold's visits persisted. Derenberger claimed that the odd figure with the grin across his face visited him frequently throughout the following month. Afterwards, Derenberger's family revealed that they had also witnessed Cold and other unusual occurrences. Locals flocked to Derenberger's homes in the hopes of catching a glimpse of Cold as a result of the media exposure the story received. Derenberger sought medical assistance as a result of the negativity and the mockery that he was experiencing. His doctor gave him the all clear and said that there was no sign of chemical imbalance or disruption, which if anything just added more fear to the community as his brain was functioning perfectly. Derenberger authored a book about his visits, but the account of his experience had no positive effects. In actuality, it not only had a bad effect on him, but also his friends and family. Years of obnoxious phone calls were made to the family, and they blamed Derenberger's stories of Indrid Cold for the misfortunes and their job losses. Any negative thing that happened in the town, they would blame it as a result of Indrid Cold visiting Derenberger. Derenberger experienced excruciating headaches, was depressed, and eventually even got divorced from his wife. Derenberger left the area to avoid being recognized, as he had lost everything, from his family to his friends, to his marriage and his job, but never once he denied the terrifying encounter with Indrid Cold, the Smiling Man. Nevertheless, Derenberger returned to the Mineral Wells region after a number of years spent living elsewhere before passing away in 1990 at the age of 74, 23 years after Indrid Cold allegedly stopped him on the highway. Even after all these years of ridicule and pain, he never retracted his claim, but he eventually avoided talking to people about it as he hated all the hate that came with it. Derenberger's story has persisted ever since, taking Indrid Cold into the world of rural myths and legends, as well as stories of the strange and unknown. The legend of Indrid Cold was connected to the Mothman after Derenberger communicated with John Keel, the author of the Mothman Predictions. It even went as far as to appear on the Mothman Prophecies movies from 2002. What do you think about Indrid Cold though? Was he an alien, a supernatural, or maybe even just a hallucination? Let me know in the comments what you think. Until next time, horror lovers, peace.